So the game actually seems to play well, but there's also a little bit of stuttering in the sort of music here and there, but it's definitely playable. It's not all GameCubes are like this, obviously some definitely struggle, but this certainly seems to play pretty well. So hi guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. We're going to be looking at Gamecube and Wii games running on the Anbernic RG552. That's a little bit hit and miss. Some games work well, some don't. A lot just don't work at all. And see, this one, Zelda, the Wind Waker, it actually plays pretty well. It's obviously got some choppy music here and there, but the game is very playable. It's not running at full speed right enough, but you can definitely play it. That's no problem. Other games such as F-Zero is just completely unplayable, which we'll show you later in the video. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started and let's get stuck into the video. So the best way to play GameCube and Wii games is on the Dolphin app itself. And I haven't really changed the settings too much. If we could sort of have a brief sort of look at them. There's some settings here that you can mess about with. They've got general settings. Sometimes I've messed about with a lot of this and I've not really made a lot of difference, to be honest. Graphic settings, stick to the Vulkan backend. The OpenGL one just doesn't work for a lot of games, so I really stuck to the Vulkan one. There's other settings here, but honestly I've messed about with a lot and never got really anywhere with a lot of the games. There are other things like enhancement, like the graphics enhancement. You can change that to, I've got it at 1 time, but just standard. You can obviously up it if you want, but you may affect your sort of game speed if you're putting that. I've tried putting it down, to be honest, to see if some of the games play better, but it didn't actually make any difference at all. And that's really more or less it. There's lots of other settings you can change, like control settings and stuff, but let's have a look at some of the games. So playing through Zelda, it played pretty well. I think I would probably recommend turning the music down because it probably puts you off with the sort of choppy music. But the game itself actually played alright. The sort of frame rates were definitely jumping all over the place when there was more going on, but it's playable and I thought it actually performed a lot better than I was expecting, which kind of surprised me. So even though that there's saves in the actual games, you can actually use the save function in the actual app itself, which is quite handy, and you can load and save at any point you sort of like, which is really good.
Soul Calibur versus Cassandra.
So another game that actually plays really well is Soul Calibur II. It's obviously got some issues with graphical flickering here and there, and the frame rate isn't quite hitting the mark, but it plays pretty well, and I actually quite enjoyed playing it, and it's not bad at all. It's definitely playable. It's not full speed or anything, but you can definitely play it. Maybe just turn the sound down a little bit, but honestly, it's playing really well, I thought.
Win. Battle 2. Fight.
So moving on to games that don't work well, F-Zero GX, this one is a stuttering mess. And the frame rates are so low that it really is completely unplayable. You can hear the sort of music is just struggling to actually play it. You can just about get away playing the game, but it's just not enjoyable. It's so slow when you're actually in game, and that music is juddering all over the place. It's just completely off-putting. But here's some quick footage of the actual in-game gameplay. I suppose at worst you could really just turn the sound off and you could maybe just about get away with playing it, but you can see it's so slow that you're really missing the whole point of the game, which is obviously speed and enjoyment, and I think that's really missing. Now, we might see some improvements going forward, but I really don't think at any point we're going to have every GameCube game playable on the RG552. I just don't think it's going to be powerful enough. But you might get some games that, like for instance Soul Calibur 2, that play pretty well, and Zelda, which isn't bad at all, but a lot of the games tend to play a bit like this, but it's just going to be trial and error really what works and what doesn't work. So don't expect every game to play well or even play great at all. Unfortunately, a lot of them are going to be like this, which is a bit of a shame, but that's just how it is. So another classic, Metroid Prime, which was a fantastic game on the Gamecube, but unfortunately it's pretty much like F-Zero GX. It doesn't play, it's a juddering mess. Again, you could probably just about get away with it if you can put up with the slowness with turning down the sound, because that's the most jarring part, as you can hear. So guys, moving on to the Wii, this is pretty much the same as the GameCube. Some games work, some games don't. This particular one, Super Paper Mario, is one that actually plays really well. There's occasional graphical glitches here and there and the odd sort of frame rate issue, but for the best part, it's pretty undemanding and it plays particularly well. And you'll probably find that a lot of games that are pretty simple should play okay. Other games that are a bit more graphical intense will probably struggle like crazy. But this one itself is actually pretty playable. So with obviously Wii you had that crazy controller which you used the sensor to actually manage it. With this game you use the right thumbstick to try and manoeuvre the thumbstick, and it kind of works, but you might have some problems in some games it's just not compatible with it at all. So if you do have issues, in the option you can sort of mess about and change what controller you're actually using. So you might get mixed results right enough. Some games might not be compatible with the GameCube controller or the classic controller, for example. But the options are there to try and experiment and maybe make the game work for you. So this is Cave Story, which was a kind of WiiWare game that was on the sort of Nintendo Wii, and the game seemed to work pretty well. I still experienced some graphical issues and some frame rate issues, but it seemed to be okay. Certainly you can get away with it, it's playable, but it's not quite perfect. Which kind of surprised me, because this isn't really a massively intense game at all, and it really should play it. It seems like a retro game and it still kind of struggles a little bit, which is kind of surprising, but you probably find that a lot of the WiiWare games should work okay. So guys, here's a game example of one that just does not work. Sonic Colors on the Wii. It looks fantastic, no doubt, the graphics are fantastic, it looks great, but you can hear the music, it's all over the place, the frame rate's just not quite hitting the mark, and practically makes it unplayable. You could probably play it again, turning the sound off, and it might be a slightly more enjoyable experience, but for the best part, it's just one of those ones, it's just not going to work. So guys, so I don't hurt your ears playing this, I'll put some music over it because it really is quite jarring to the ears, and I'll let it play. It actually looks okay, but it just sounds absolutely terrible. So as you can see, mixed results for Wii and GameCube games. Some work, some don't. Anyway guys, thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you again next time. Bye for now.